I know some of you won't believe this, but there are people online making money in some of the most insane ways. Real estate, Amazon FBA, there's even people selling just photos of cute dogs. In the last year, I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars online, basically helping other people get rich. Essentially, I help people sell online coaching. And I do this not only just for myself, but for other people as well, whether it's my offers or their offers. And honestly, the inspiration to make this video came from a phone call that I just got off of a little while ago with one of my friends back when I used to run a restaurant. He basically got promoted to a good position, similar to where I was in the company. And we were just kind of laughing and joking about the pay. Basically, we were laughing about the fact that hey, now he's making a good salary, right? He's making what people strive for. But when you start to break that up, we noticed how little that position would actually make for the work that they actually do. And we were laughing looking back to some of the numbers that I was making. Just for reference, the business was doing about 6-7 million a year, and I was getting paid about 25,000 a year. So when you end up breaking that up, that ends up being about $2,000 a month and working about 60 hours a week on the low end, actually. After chopping that up, that comes out to about $8 to $9 an hour. If I'm working 60 hours a week, then that was $8.60 an hour, which is nuts because I started looking at what I do now. And like I said, I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars online selling coaching. And from that, over the last couple of months, averaging about $6,000 to $8,000 a week. Now for that, I work about 30 hours a week. So when you start breaking that up into numbers, that ends up being anywhere between $200 to $700 an hour. Or if you want to put that in other terms, that is about 27 times more than what I was making working double the time. And honestly, I'm not particularly smart or special in any means. I started this as an unskilled and unemployed 20-year-old. And now I sit here in my villa in Bali with a beautiful pool and 2 roommates who are doing the exact same thing. I've actually been rooming with my business partner for the last 6 months, but 2 of my friends just moved in as well who are doing the exact same thing and doing even better than me in some realms. Now, odds are if you're here, you have a coaching program, likely doing 2 to 10K a month because, hey, that's the stuff that I post. And odds are you are wanting to scale, but have some fears that go along with it. So basically, in this video, I'm going to show you guys exactly step-by-step my system and exactly how I go about scaling my offers, how I go about getting clients results. In fact, one of my clients just bought outright a brand new Mustang, which has been his dream car, I believe, for the last couple of months. All because he was able to take something that he's passionate about and turn it into an online coaching business that makes him a ridiculous amount of money. And after sharing this system with a lot of people, it's crazy the results that people get from it. So here it is, my entire process. And if you think that this is going to be some crazy over-the-top thing, don't worry. This will probably be the simplest thing that you've heard all year. And to make it even simpler for you, I'm just going to break this down into 3 really easy steps that you can just take away and go and start implementing to make more money with your online education company or online coaching program, depending on what you have. Now, the bulk of what I've made has come from high ticket coaching. However, there are many different realms that you can do online coaching in, whether it's one-to-one, whether it's group, whether it's low ticket, all of them work, as long as you are following simple processes that actually make sense. So here's kind of the 3 steps that I go. The first one is just making sure that all of the building blocks are in place. So that would be things like making sure that your social media is optimized for your offer, making sure that your messaging is consistent throughout your offer when it comes to both all 3 marketing, sales, and product. And then obviously making sure that the offer aligns with your ideal client and just making sure that it's actually vetted and something that the ICP actually wants. Once those building blocks are in place and kind of that audit's taken place, the second step is just identifying the constraint. For most people in the high ticket space specifically, they're going to be probably running the most common funnel, which is a call funnel. But really, it doesn't really matter what funnel you're running, as long as you can simply outline what the constraints are and what things could possibly be going wrong, things become really easy. Now, if you're running a call funnel, it can really only be one of a couple of things. It's either your lead generation, the amount of booked calls you get, your show rate, your close rate, or your retention. So that would be fulfillment, back-end sales, and just making sure that the clients are actually getting results. Now, when it comes to those constraints specifically, like I mentioned, depending on your funnel, it can be one of different things. But if you're running a call funnel, this really is the simplest way to outline it. If you have a leads problem, hey, you either need to do more outreach, run more paid ads, like spend more money on it, post more free content, have your CTAs be better. If it's your booked calls, maybe you need to optimize your funnel. Maybe you need to get rid of a funnel and just have a conversational sales process where you're setting people in the DMs. If it's your show rate, maybe you need to be warming the audience up a little more. Maybe your setting process actually needs to be more detailed to be attracting a better client. Or maybe you're just not sending the correct messages and emails and pre-call assets before the call to actually make them warm and feel like this is something that they need and they need to be hopping on this call with you. If it's your close rate, odds are you probably have similar problems to the show rate, right? Because that obviously affects how warm they are before hopping on the call. Or maybe your sales process and how you go about closing someone just needs to be adjusted. Maybe you need to adjust pricing, increase the price. But you can dive in and really look at, hey, what you're doing in the actual closing process. If it's retention, well, perfect. You need to know that you need to get a better product. If you're not making the sales on the back end of your product, cool, you got to get people more results. Oftentimes the people that buy from you are the most likely to spend 3, 4, 5x, even 10 times the money that they would normally spend. Right after you get someone, you want to increase the lifetime value. So maybe you got to look at it that way. But basically with this line of thinking, there will always be one thing that is a constraint, right? A business can only grow so much until they hit a constraint. So for example, let's say that you are filling your calendar with calls and you have no more space for the amount of leads that you're getting. Cool, you need to solve that problem, whether it's hire a closer, whether it's add more friction to the sales process. But once you hit that constraint, all that you need to do is just solve that problem in order for your business to grow even more. And then the last thing with this, 3-step system, the third step is just creating a repeatable system that actually solves that constraint that we were mentioning earlier so that you can actually make it repeatable and outsource it so that it's not on you to just go fix it every time. And when I say fix it, I mean like actually doing the process. Maybe you're no longer the one taking sales. Maybe you have to hire a sales rep who is better than you to go take those calls for you. Maybe that'll actually increase your close rate as well. Whatever that looks like. You create a system, so you document a system that is repeatable, that you are doing, that is making you the money that you want to make. And then you can go install that with whoever you need at that point in time in order to solve that constraint. And then the third step with this process, really the last thing, is just creating a repeatable system so that you can actually just drive whatever that constraint is forward and drive that number forward. Now, when you're creating this system, it's important to think about what it is that will allow you to just go install that system and outsource it effectively. So for an example, if your show rate is a problem, you might have one of 50 problems. But the thing that you might do is install a system that messages people a couple of times, emails people a couple of times, and sends them a couple of pre-call assets. You want to create that system so that it can run for you without you actually doing it. Because in this step, you want to make sure that you are outsourcing. The important thing that you need to be doing is spending time on the business, not in the business. Because if you're spending time in the business, sending those messages, sending those emails manually, and even taking these calls manually, you're not actually spending time looking at it objectively and looking at what the actual problem is that you need to solve. So basically in step 2, as you are once you've identified the constraint, the solving it is creating a system that can run on autopilot. This is a game changer paired with a proper line of thinking we'll talk about a little more in a second is absolutely unbelievable, right? One of my clients, Tyson, made multiple 6 figures in the last year, making more than a doctor does every single month, all because he was able to take something that he's passionate about, turn it into an online coaching company, and then just by following these 3 steps repeatedly, now he's not actually involved in any of the day-to-day process. He can focus on the thing that actually matters most in the business for him right now, which is generating leads. Whether that be spending more time posting content, spending more time filming ads. He doesn't book the calls himself. He doesn't take the calls himself. He doesn't even fulfill himself. He's got a team doing that for him just because he went and actually made sure that he had all the building blocks in place, identified the constraint, and then built a system to go install and have him live the life that he wants to live. I had another client who started a business around helping people take photos. He understood that he's not very good at the sales process. So guess what? a team was installed to actually run that sales process for him. So then he can focus on what he actually enjoys doing, helping people take better photos. Or Jaden, who managed to quit his job because the life that he wanted to live was running an agency that helps people make money with online coaching. And guess what? All he did was take the systems that I talked to you guys about today and go install them into his clients' businesses. Now he lives the life he wants. He runs an agency, like I said, helping people with their online education companies, makes the money that he wants to make, and is able to live exactly how he wants to live. Having been in the space for as long as I have, I guess like the last 2 years now, I've actually just been able to use this system and go build a team that actually runs the business for me while I'm able to work on the business. Like I mentioned before, I used to work 60 hours a week to make $9 an hour basically. That's crazy. Now I work half the time, I'm leveraged, and my time is actually useful. And I'm actually living the life that I want to live, whether that means going to waterfalls and jumping off cliffs with my friends, or going and playing video games whenever for however long I want. This is what this type of business actually helps you do. Basically, living the life that you want. If that's scaling to multiple 6 and 7 figures, building an empire where there are people in the industry doing 8 figures a year, selling their e-learning companies, online education companies to private equity firms for 7, 8 figures. Whatever you're wanting to do with this type of business, the freedom that it allows you to have is unlike anything that I have ever seen. Like I said, it is one of the easiest, most effective, and honestly most simple business models that I have ever seen that are able to scale so quickly, and you guys probably see it online everywhere. So that life that you want, whether it's scaling to 6 and 7 figures or making 5 to 10K a month, with everything systemized and you out of the day-to-day operations, is a lot closer than you think. But like I said, pairing this with the right line of thinking is honestly something that I've seen as the biggest struggle for people kind of doing 2 to 10K a month in the online education space. And these people wanting to get to multiple 6 figures, even 7 figures a year with their coaching. I wish that this was talked about more, because having kind of a decision-making rule and having kind of focus rules has been something that honestly I've credited most, if not all, of my success to in recent history. And basically, you can have all of this, but if you aren't able to avoid the shiny object syndrome that entrepreneurs have, it's pretty much all for nothing. So somewhere on this screen will be the typical YouTube overlay to go check out that video. And like I said, it's honestly something that I wish more people would talk about. So go check out that video if you haven't already. But as for this one, like I said, keeping it simple. Actually just following the steps is making sure the building blocks are in place, identifying the constraint, and then creating repeatable systems that let you work on the business rather than in the business are a game changer when paired with the focus and decision-making rules that I talk about in the video linked somewhere here. So go check that one out. And if you're a coach doing anywhere between 2 to 10K a month, you're looking to scale to those multiple 6 figures and even 7-figure point, consider dropping a like and subscribing, because I post nothing but that on here. But in any case, go check out that video, and I'll see you guys on the other side.